Yes, welcome into Sportsbit. Betting Insight today, Paulie and Teddy. Tuesday, October 25th. Big game breakdown. Game 1 and series preview of the World Series 1908 against 1948. The association is here. Doubleheader on TNT. Got the Knicks and the Cavs, followed by the Spurs and the Warriors, and the deep dive. 5 great minutes with Jimmy Vaccaro. How'd the books do? How'd the players do? A $80,000 bet on a money line we'll get to as well. And his appearance on Hardball with Chris Matthews. All that coming up. Monday Night Football, another winner for us. We had the under. I really questioned the game plan and the scheme with the Texans. Osweiler threw 41 passes, 131 yards. The whole game plan is dink and dunk. Broncos with an easy win.
Yeah, another not-so-entertaining game for Monday Night Football. And, the ratings for the national TV games way down this year. The league's worried about it. And last night's game, not going to solve the problem. I'll tell you that. It was not a thrilling football game. And it was a lousy result for the house. There was nothing but Broncos money. Denver opened as low as -6. They closed as high as -9 at many books. That's never good for a Monday Night Football game when that favorite wins and covers off a huge line move like that. And lots of parlays and teasers also tied into Monday night. The result for the house, not a good one. But you talk about Brock Osweiler. Look, 3.1 yards per pass attempt. That's the second fewest passing yards ever for a quarterback with 40 or more attempts. 131 yards on 41 total throws. And that doesn't count the sack that he took. The biggest gainer, the only big gainer of the night they had on the pass interference call. That was dicey. It looked like their legs just got tied up. And then there's a flag. That was the only big gain. Everything else, as you're right, was dink and dunk. And that's with not one. They got 2 pretty good downfield weapons at wide receiver. I'm with you on Bill O'Brien's game plan being a little bit dicey. But now it's 3 road games for Houston. And in those 3 road games, they have scored a grand total of 1 touchdown, and that came in garbage time. Osweiler last night, numerous unforced errors. Like the time he tried to throw the pass and fumbled instead, which was basically the end of the game, even though that wasn't even in the fourth quarter.
Do you remember when we previewed the Seahawks in the summer and Todd Cable said the offensive line play is horrendous because guys aren't coached properly in college?
Yes.
I agree with them. And it was interesting. They were talking about on ESPN after the game that's why the passes are short, because they knew the Denver defense was going to hit Osweiler and they didn't want to get him killed because they have so many injuries on the O-line. And he was just saying it was the state of the league that the offensive line plays horrendous.
Well, while we don't agree with Bill O'Brien's game plan, certainly when we look at what he was up against, he's up against an elite defense. And make no mistake about it. I talked about how bad Osweiler's been on the road. Well, part of that's that he's faced 3 pretty good defenses, including the Vikings and the Broncos on the highway. And, of course, the Patriots as well on a short week. So nothing easy in that regard. So some of that has to do with the defense that they're facing and the fact that, of course, they know Brock Osweiler pretty well. But make no mistake about it, the NFL has an issue on the offensive line, and it's affecting the quarterback position. And everyone's saying, who are the next group of megastars when it comes to the QB position? Who's going to replace Peyton Manning? Who's going to replace Tom Brady in the NFL pantheon? And we say, well, it's all about the quarterback. No, it's not. It's all about the quarterback, and the protection in front of him wasn't very good for Brock Osweiler last night. And it wasn't great for Simeon either, but at least the Broncos were able to run the football in that game. Maybe the bigger issue for Houston, besides the offensive woes, they got gashed on the ground by a pretty one-dimensional offense. C.J. Anderson and Devontae Booker combined 33 carries, 190 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5.8 yards per carry. If you're division-leading Texans, you're not supposed to be gashed on the ground by an offense that doesn't throw the football that well either, especially with all the drops that Denver suffered last night, Demaryius Thomas in particular.
Yep. A quick rant. There's nothing wrong with throwing in the towel. I'm getting sick. What is O'Brien doing last night? He's calling timeouts down 15. They're still running plays down 18 against the number 1 defense in the league. Get the hell out of there. It was like Kevin Sumlin on Saturday, down 19 with a minute left against Bama, calling timeouts on defense. Get out of there. The game's over. That's how people get hurt. It's stupid. There's no way you're coming back. You can't get a first down, let alone you're going to have a touchdown, get an onside kick, and you're not going to do anything. Get the hell out of there. Quit calling timeouts. Enough of that. It pisses me off. All right, market moves. Falcons. They're not buying Green Bay. I don't blame them. Money coming in on Atlanta, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, and we always try to do this on Tuesday. Take a look at the early week line movers for the NFL. Give you an idea. If you like this side, you better bet it now. If you don't, well, maybe you want to wait. And for Atlanta, we're already seeing the 2.5 starting to disappear. The markets are moving to 3, and it looks to me like a lot of this is anti-Green Bay money. And of course, Atlanta coming off an overtime loss. And I think the market's looking to support the Falcons off a loss versus the Packers off a not so impressive win.
Seattle at New Orleans, no surprise, money coming in on the Saints. Seattle had to play 5 quarters. The defense was on the field for most of the game. Now they got to travel cross country.
Yeah, exactly. Seahawks from -3.5 to -3. There are even some 2.5s popping up right now on Seattle. And remember, the look-ahead line last week, not over the summer, last week was Seattle -5.5. So you got an exhausted Seahawks team, no question. That team was gassed by the end of the Sunday Night Football last week. And as you mentioned, that defense on the field for the entirety, it felt like, of that ball game. And New Orleans, a little bit desperate. I mean, not that the Saints are necessarily going anywhere, but there was a lot of locker room talk in New Orleans after their loss at KC of circle the wagons time. So not surprised at all. We've seen Seahawks money. If you like the Saints, grab a +3 now. If you like Seattle, no urgency.
They're betting Belichick revenge. They were shut out. Now he's got Brady. And if the Patriots win, I mean, Belichick rarely swept. Not to mention, if they win this game, they pretty much wrap up the division. And they're betting against the Raiders, who are 4-0 on the road.
Yeah, and in terms of your line mover of the week, I can tell you right now, this Patriots has gone from 5.5 to 6.5. It's going to 7. If you like New England, bet them sooner rather than later. Obviously, if you like the other side of that, bet it later rather than sooner. And as you mentioned, Belichick with shutout revenge and short-term shutout revenge. I know it was Jacoby Brissett behind center and not Tom Brady in that ballgame, but you can anticipate a slightly different game plan for New England in this one. And the Raiders spending the week in Florida. I was worried about them with the travel back and forth. This is their 4th now early start time East Coast game already this season. And the fact they're staying out east, surprised the markets are saying they don't like that move. But there's a little bit of support for Tampa Bay right now. The Bucs off back-to-back wins. Admittedly, one came against Carolina on a day where Derek Anderson was awful, and the other came against the team that I've got power rated 32 right now, San Francisco. So I'm a little bit surprised by that Tampa money, but this isn't, in my mind, an urgency situation. This line's going to sit Tampa 1.5 all week.
All right, and last one, Monday Night Football. Money coming in for the Vikings. Zimmer ripped them again yesterday in his press conference. It is anti-Cutler money. A downgrade with the Bears, going from Hoyer back to Cutler.
Yeah, the Vikings are already up from -5 to -6. They could go higher in that ballgame. And Hoyer's out, Cutler's in. What do the markets do? Betting against Chicago, telling whoever is willing to listen, because of course the markets speak with money, not with words, but telling whoever is willing to listen that Jay Cutler should not be the starting quarterback of the Chicago Bears. He's the number 2 QB, according to the markets.
All right, up next, let's do it. Big game breakdown. Game 1 of the World Series, and we preview the series. And we'll get to the doubleheader on TNT. The association is back, plus Jimmy Vaccaro, and we look to make it 16-5. With the play of the day, we're on a great run here. Coming up on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRpicks.com.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
All right, back on SportsBit. Paulie and Teddy. Time for big game breakdown. As always, live odds, sportsbookreview.com. Game 1 of the World Series tonight. Kluber, Lester against Kluber. Cubbies $1.10, 6.5 the total. Series price. Cubs up to -220 in some spots. Take back plus $1.80 on the Indians. It's 1908 against 1948. A great tweet from ESPN. Things that did not exist the last time the Cubs won the pennant in 1945. The NBA, Alaska and Hawaii as U.S. states. The microwave, the LA Dodgers, credit cards, Trump, Stallone, Spielberg, Joe Madden, and Mr. Potato Head. And Dexter Fowler replied to this tweet. It's been so long since the Cubs have been in the World Series. When he steps to the plate tonight, he'll be the first African-American for the Cubs to play in a World Series.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's not like the Indians have been in the World Series all these times. You know, I mean, they had the one loss to the Marlins in a classic series of Game 7 that they probably should have won.
And the Braves in 95.
Yeah, but other than that,
Yep.
It's been a little bit These are two franchises that know the meaning of wait till next year. Let's just put it that way. But let's talk about the series first, because there is a huge gap in the starting pitching in this series after the opener. You have Corey Kluber for game one for Cleveland. After that, I know Francona's got his rotation set, and I know this team's been real good. What are they, 7-1 in the postseason, 7-1 to the under?
Correct.
But I've really got my concerns about Cleveland starting pitching after tonight. Now, I love Kluber tonight. He's been huge so far in the postseason. What has he got? 18 in the third innings of work, 2 runs allowed, 13 hits, 20 strikeouts. He lost on short rest at Toronto, though he pitched just fine. And on this mound, he's thrown 13.1 innings of scoreless baseball so far here in the postseason. So Kluber tonight is fine. After Kluber, though, a lot of concerns for Francona.
Well, they got some good news, though. According to reports, the pitching coach told Salazar he's going to be on the roster. Now, I imagine they use him out of the bullpen, but that's huge that they get him back. And how about for the Cubbies, that Schwarber's supposed to DH tonight?
Well, that's a big news. Obviously, Schwarber hurt. Was that opening day that he got hurt?
I think it was the first week.
Yeah, it was certainly real early in the season.
At Arizona.
A big bat. And, this, and you talk about Schwarber being back and being the DH for potentially 4 games in Cleveland. Cleveland hasn't hit in the postseason. They haven't hit at all. Remember, in that Blue Jays series, Francisco Lindor, 7 of 19. All other Indians combined to hit 138. Okay, so I'm not saying that the Indians lineup is hopeless, but Chicago's lineup's a lot better than Cleveland's lineup. It really is. And when you add a big bat like Schwarber into the mix, It just makes it that much more dangerous. But, we talk about Lindor. Is this his coming out party as one of the MLB best?
Sure.
I don't know there was a player that was more underrated this season. He finished number 8 in baseball in WAR, wins above replacement.
And I will agree with you there. And for the Cubs, it's been Baez becoming a superstar. And it's doing with the bat, but also the glove. This kid is unbelievable at second base.
Well, yeah, but outside of the shortstop position, and look, Kipnis at second base is pretty good for Cleveland. So while Baez has been an impact player for Chicago, that's not a position where I say that the Cubs have an edge. But other than that, look at the comparison by WAR right here on this chart. All right, other than shortstop and second base, you go position by position. You don't see a lot of advantages for the Cleveland Indians against the Cubs in this series. And the Cubs are going to be big favorites, in the Arrieta Bauer matchup. They're going to be big favorites in the Hendricks Tomlin matchups. That's why we're seeing a series price that is so different from the price we're seeing here for this Game 1 matchup.
How about Hayward? $180 million, 1 hit in the NLCS, and benched in Game 6 when they clinched it. But the big story was Cleveland's bullpen. Brilliant. The bullpen was dynamite, and Francona did an excellent job. Andrew Miller, 11 2/3, no runs, 3 hits, 14 strikeouts. Cody Allen, 7 2/3, no runs, 5 hits, 10 strikeouts, only 3 walks. They combined 24 Ks versus 11 base runners. How concerned are you about this Cleveland layoff, though?
Moderately concerned, especially because the Cubs got their lineup going against the Dodgers. But I don't think it's a huge edge for Chicago to have played a little bit more recently than Cleveland. Although, when it comes to management, we've been talking about how Francona's making all the right moves. Joe Maddon's made all the right moves, too. He's kept his young team really cool, really loose. He might have been the perfect guy for the job, which is probably why he got fired, or he got hired, I should say. When Chicago was up against it, down 2-1 in LA, facing real adversity, I thought Madden's coolness was a difference maker. Cleveland hasn't faced adversity yet in the postseason. And of course, they're going to face some adversity tonight when it comes to John Lester.
He's been the man in the postseason, no stranger to pressure. Career 2.50 ERA in 119 postseason innings. This will be start number 18 in the 2016 postseason. 21 innings pitched, 2 runs, 14 hits, 2 walks, and 14 strikeouts. Come on! But I will say this. I think the Indians are going to test him and run on him tonight, if they get guys on.
And that's a real advantage that Cleveland has or could have
Yeah.
that may not be factored into this price.
Back to this game. This will be play of the day. All right. The NBA starts tonight. Doubleheader on TNT. Live odds, sportsbookreview.com. The Knicks against the champs. The Cavs at home. Cavs 9.5. 204.5 the total. How much support will the Cavs get? Fans are going to stay at home and watch the World Series. Starting time moved up to 7:30 Eastern so they can begin their ring ceremony at 7 o'clock. And so the fans can check this out and see it and then go back to the game. So this is, I believe the ballpark and where the Quicken Loans is right next to each other.
Yeah, look, Cleveland is going to have plenty of support in the crowd. But there is a rule. There is a thought process that has become a rule over the years, which is you don't want to be laying points with teams the night they get their ring.
Uh-huh.
And it's a big emotional experience. The home crowd goes nuts. And sometimes you see teams come with flat efforts. Often enough that it's become a thing. So, yeah, the ring ceremony is at 7. The game's moved up to 7:30 Eastern so that the fans can see the ceremony before going to watch the World Series. But, the key all season for Cleveland, not just tonight, but all season. And you're really going to have to try to handicap this team down to an individual game basis. Not, all right, I'm going to be riding them or I'm going to be fading them. But on any given night, Cleveland is capable of blowing anybody out. And on any given night, look at the picture right here. Here's LeBron. How much is LeBron just pointing down the road to the playoffs? Because this team has nothing to prove in the regular season. And you throw in the ring ceremony, you're not going to see wise guy money on Cleveland.
Yep. Okay. So Hornacek takes over for the Knicks. They bring in Rose. They bring in Noah. They bring in Jennings. Courtney Lee. What do you think of this outfit?
The Knicks hired, they got a new coach. They got a bunch of high-profile talent. I'm very curious how this roster is going to mesh together. This much I know when it comes to Jeff Hornacek's challenge. All right. You have a new point guard, a new backup point guard, new shooting guard. The point guard's been, in terms of Derrick Rose, has been in a situation off the court that has certainly affected him on the court. Even though he was cleared on all charges in that civil rape trial, it's still a significant off-court distraction. Mm-hmm. So the Knicks are going to have some chemistry issues early on. Mm-hmm. And they're not a team I'm particularly excited about supporting early in the campaign because the hype is there before the production is there. This has been an underachieving team since Carmelo Anthony got there and well before. And with Derrick Rose, I don't know how mentally ready he's going to be. I don't know how physically ready he's going to be. He did not get a whole lot of playing time in the preseason and is not anywhere near 100% going into the regular season.
All right, the second game of the doubleheader, live odds, sportsbookreview.com. The Spurs in Golden State to take on the Warriors. Golden State 9, 212 the total. Here's the big story of the offseason. Kevin Durant goes to Golden State. Let's start with Barbosa, Ezeli, Bogut, Barnes, gone. Still got Livingston off the bench with Ian Clark. They love McCaw, the kid out of UNLV. He played well in the preseason. They also had Pachulia, West, and McGee. Pachulia will start at center. This is scary. They have the 3 best shooters in the league on the same team, and you don't have to set picks for them. They can create their own shot. I can't wait to watch this team.
Only one ball, though.
Oh, stop it. That's not going to be a problem. Give me a break.
Okay, look. All right. All the hype's been about Kevin Durant. Okay. There's been a pretty big overhaul for Golden State that's not just Kevin Durant. You got a new starting center in Jaja Pachulia. You got David West and JaVale McGee are both going to be playing big roles off the bench. And West is a guy who I like, just a character guy that I like. McGee, a guy with athleticism. But one thing that is definitely different for Golden State this year, Sean Livingston, Patrick McCaw, Ian Clark off the bench. There's a difference when you're missing Harrison Barnes and Leandro Barbosa coming off to play the 1 and the 2. Their backup backcourt is not going to provide the type of offense that it did a year ago. And when you're talking about a team that lots of pieces remaining.
Stop it. I traded Harrison Barnes for Kevin Durant. I'll take that deal. It's essentially what I did. Although I miss Bogut. I miss Bogut a little bit. We'll see.
Yeah, you'll miss Bogut's interior defense. And I understand that you want Durant over Barnes. He's a better player. But when it comes to understanding your role on the team, Harrison Barnes knew what he was supposed to do. Okay? And for Golden State coming out of the gate, I got some concerns there. I really do. Coming out of that, remember, the Warriors nothing to prove in the regular season any more than the Cavs do. But, you're allowed to laugh away. Laugh away. It's not like I'm going to make a case for San Antonio.
Well, yeah. Hey, Danny Green's out. No Tim Duncan. Kyle Anderson will get big minutes. Aldridge complaining maybe a little bit about behind the scenes in San Antonio. So how do you think Pop plays this?
Well, let's put it this way. The last time the Spurs opened a season without Tim Duncan, there was a Clinton in the White House. It was Bill. All right, it's been a while. You talk about Danny Green being out. That's a big loss.
Uh-huh.
You have Pau Gasol trying to fit his way into the mix, and Pau Gasol is no Tim Duncan when it comes to team chemistry necessarily. And the Spurs are young. 6 of the 14 guys in the roster, and the rookies are in their second season. I wouldn't be surprised to see San Antonio go through some growing pains early on in the campaign. This, for me, fascinating game to watch. No interest whatsoever in making a wager.
Yes. All right. Up next, the deep dive with Jimmy Vaccaro. How'd the books do? How'd the players make out? A wild weekend again in football. And what does he think about the Cubs and the Indians World Series? And we look to make it 16-5 run. The play of the day. Sportsbit. Betting insight today on SBRpicks.com. That's coming up.
Hey, Sportsbit viewers, here's the MLB Odds Couple Show for Tuesday, October 25th. Game 1 of the World Series. Mike Brenner and I both have a pick on this game. Our picks are different, and they're actually slightly negatively correlated, but I think there's a chance we might both cash, Mike Brenner.
I think we could. I can't wait, and come on over, because I got 2 picks today.
We're back on Sportsbit. As always, 5 great minutes with Jimmy Vaccaro. Go visit him if you're ever in Las Vegas at the South Point and follow him on Twitter. Bookmaker for over 40 years at Jimmy Vaccaro. Hey, how about this? Cubs and the Indians tonight in the World Series. The Cubs finally make it. It's 1908 against 1948. What does it mean for business? And how much of a loss do you take if the Cubs win it?
Well, first of all, the Cubs winning won't really do anything to us besides having us count some as a winner. And obviously, Paulie, what people are getting at, the impression is because the Cubs have been doing it since 1908, haven't gotten there. Just remember, they went off as one of the co-favorites. So there was never, anytime there's a favorite that wins at anything in the future book, naturally it doesn't subscribe like you get your brains blown out. The only time we do that, like it was a 40 or 50 or 60 to 1 shot. Remember, the Cubs are only 12 to 1. So let's call it like it is. The Indians are a huge pickup because nobody, since Bob Feller in 1954, the pitcher had a thought that they could even win it. But the Indians are a huge pickup, and the Cubs, we actually win a few dollars.
What's it been like in the sports books there with the Cubs playoff run?
Well, the Cubs playoff run, you surely can tell by the amount wagered. Not that it's a tidal way, but you know that there's something in the air because you can feel it if you do this as long as I have, but there's just extra energy. And what it does, especially during the weeknights here in Las Vegas, it actually brings people out a little bit more that might not show in your book Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Even with the phone apps being as popular as they are, people still like to make the bet on their way or at home, and a lot of them still like to join the festivities because, like I said, this will be a little more unique because naturally every commercial break or every time they go to someplace, you'll be seeing a Chicago Cub commercial on where it was. They'll show Bartman 10,000 times. They'll show the Billy Goat. They'll show all that kind of stuff. And people can realize and they can connect to that. The Indians, like I said, to most people who live there, it's still a disaster on the lake. So what can I tell you? But it will mean more turnout, especially for the books during the course of the week. I would say that a Cub game, especially the first game, is simply going to be like a Monday Night Football game. I think it draws that much attention.
Okay, and something that's changed in all your 40 years in the racket, we call them bridge jumpers, but guys come out and they bet huge money on money lines. You see it with Mayweather, you see it with Ronda Rousey, and here you had an $80,000 bet on the Patriots to win.
Yeah, you see more and more of it, and like I said, that obviously you can get your tail twisted a little bit, but naturally this guy who bet yesterday after Landry Jones shown exactly who he was, he surely didn't have much of a trouble getting there. But you're seeing more and more and more of it. And he came to the South Point on Saturday and said he would like to bet a big wager on the money line on one of the games. And first of all, without even guessing, which one of 2 or 3 teams he was going to look to bet on. Very nice, very casual. California customer came in and filled out all the reports, but I know that he'll be a new customer, and I know when I talk to guys around the city, they're getting just as much attention as we are at the South Point on these big money line parlay. Yes, understandable at times. You get chopped up, but this guy was pretty confident, and obviously he won it with relative ease.
You had a $30 10-team parlay that paid $24,000.
Yeah, the other side of the coin is we're getting more and more money line bets, but the most popular parlay card that we write, and I think if you would talk to the guys around the city here, they would probably tell you the 10-teamers get the most action because, like I said, for the one side of laying 80,000 to win around 25,000. There's the other whole section of people looking to bet 10, 20, 30, $40, and to some degree change their life if they become very lucky. Apparently, it's very, very hard to win. We don't pay out that many 10-teamers during the course of the year. But the guy had a $30 10-teamer, and he was skating easy. After he got to leg 10, he had the Arizona Cardinal Seattle game under the total. So I think he was pretty much in good shape. So he won $24,000 for a $30 bet, and it's just more and more prevalent. We're getting more money line plays, and we're getting more and more 10-teamer plays.
Can you believe that, Jim? I think the Seahawks had 4 first downs with 2 minutes left in the game.
Well, I can only say that I hate to keep using my age as a barometer here, but I've been watching this stuff as long or longer than most. I have never seen like that. I was so intrigued by the game that you couldn't stop watching it because you kept saying to yourself, this can't be happening, but it was. And then the follies that happened at the end was absolutely unbelievable, undescribable. Remember, on both occasions, when Sherman missed the receiver, it looked like the kid was going to score the touchdown. He doesn't. They tackle him at the 2, and then the kid sticks his toe, knocks the pylon over, and he was out, and then the kid missed it. Then the only drive that Seattle had, he made a big play. The ball that looked like he might go the whole way there. He gets tackled, and bang, this kid misses a chip shot. The second one was even worse than the first one, but like I said, I had never, ever seen anything like it. Compelling? Absolutely. Nothing like it. And once again, here we go, Paul. Not to sound like an old codger, but I've been railing this for the past 15 years. Where can you be entertained more for a $50 bill after watching a game like that? Nowhere. Believe me, nowhere.
Amen, brother. Run it down like only you can. I imagine the Patriots result was horrible for you.
Yeah, the Patriots was obviously the worst game. The 2 worst games were the Patriot game and San Diego coming back and down 27-10 or whatever they were down, and they beat the team that always folds up. And actually, but the best game was the Minnesota Vikings, and everybody was on the Vikings. So Saturday was a fair winner. Sunday we won a matchstick, and we'll go from there.
How about a silent assassin?
A silent assassin on the losing side was Maryland. I mean, every smart guy and every public guy in the world, had Maryland. I guess this Michigan State team is an absolute fraud because it was nothing but Maryland money. That was the biggest. That was the biggest loser. The reason we got saved on the Saturday night was the bridge jumpers and the SMU Houston game. I mean, that game turned everything around for us. We were stuck pretty good, but that made it a decent weekend because there wasn't any tickets on SMU, but everything connected to Houston, and they just bowed out of their chance to win the championship too. So here we go again, and the other one naturally was a fair to a moderate higher than normal win. Naturally was Penn State upsetting Ohio State. So it's going to be great, pal, in the next 5 weeks. Make no mistake about it. Stop into your favorite race at Sportsbook. You'll have a good time.
Well, last thing, how many interviews you end up doing Wednesday? How was hardball with Chris Matthews?
I did about 10 to 12. The hardball with Chris Matthews was okay. I was only on for 4 minutes, and here's a quick one for you. Isn't it ironic? Tom Hayden, he was a big activist in the 60s. And he was there in Chicago when all the big riots at the Democratic National Convention, and his guy, Abby Hoffman. And Tom Hayden just passed away this morning. But when I went down to do the interview, the reason I got cut short, we were on the campus of UNLV, and there were protesters. I mean, significant amount. And they not disrupted the show personally, but screaming so loud in front of the stage here that they couldn't hear themselves talk, so they extended the politicians' time a little bit more. I was only on for 4 minutes, but I'll tell you what, it resonated. I mean, there's a lot of kids and a lot of people and a lot of protesters, but it was done with, had a lot of fun with it, but we'll do it again in 4 years, buddy.
All right, you got it. Thanks for 5 great minutes. All right, again, thanks to Jimmy Vaccaro. He is the man. If you're ever in Las Vegas, check him out at the South Point. 24-10-1 on the football season. Winner last night with Monday Night Football under. 15-5 run with the play of the day. Let's keep it going. World Series Game 1. What are we doing, Teddy?
Let's go to Cleveland and take a look at the Indians in a game they absolutely have to win if they're going to have a chance in this series. I think they get the job done tonight. I'm not calling for the Indians to win the World Series. I'm calling for them to win Game 1. Game number 952, Cleveland. Plus 100. If you shop around, you can even find plus 105. Indians get Game 1. That's our play of the day.
All right, very good. Back tomorrow. I think there's 5 college games and an NFL game on Thursday. Jacksonville, Tennessee. Buckle up for that. Oh, geez. But we got a lot to get to. A lot of college, more NBA. Huge week coming up, and let's keep it going with the play of the day. Tell your friends. Thanks for the spike in view. Sportsbit, betting insight today on SBRpicks.com.